fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction, he's going around the outside of both of them! Maloney!
Oh, he's taken Anderson! Anderson's up to home!
Oh my God! Big crash! Oh my goodness, half the field's going to get rolled!
Second very close. These guys are want to make their way through the field very quickly. This is it! This is over! I can't believe this! Oh my God!
God, what?
Welcome to Phillip Island, Victoria, for a very special one-off event in Club Day Masters Worlds Collide Sim vs Pro. We've got a lot of the drivers familiar to us from the last season of Club Day Masters competition, and they're joined by a couple of interesting special guests with a little tweak to the Club Day Masters format as well. We've got some interesting racing ahead of us, some familiar names to those watching real-world motorsport in Australia, and also those who've been watching here on SimSpeed. That means we're set for a very, very interesting couple of races at Phillip Island. David Haynes, I'm joined by Cam Dance. We've got Jay Kennedy producing. Cam, you've been with me all of the last season of Club Day Masters, basically. So what are you expecting to see today out of this format?
Well, expecting some very, very mixed results, because there's an interesting twist to this night of racing in that we've turned the ABS off on these cars instead of having them on, which a lot of these drivers, which those who've raced in Club Day Masters for the past season or so, have been used to having on. So it's going to mix this field up quite a lot, but at the same time, there should be some really, really good racing with the fact that we've got some very familiar names in here, not only from Club Day Masters, but also from real life racing with the likes of Barkwana and co.
Speaking of the racing, qualifying has just kicked off before we go into three 15 lap races. So that is what is ahead of us. Looks like a progressive grid through all of the three races as well. Some standout names, I think, that we're going to keep our eyes on, especially those who you know are quite familiar with driving the TCR. You've got TCR Australia driver John Martin, for sure. And there's a few others, I think, out there, Cam, with a bit of touring car experience, a bit of front-wheel drive racing experience, and definitely some iRacing experience as well.
Yes, certainly. There's a lot of experience in this field with some of those real-life drivers and some of those who have been on iRacing for quite some time, and some of them have obviously done a bit of both. So certainly a very experienced field, and one that we've come to notice in some respects, especially with the likes of the TCR Australia and various other series last year during lockdown. So it'll be interesting to see who's going to come away with what results and who's going to be at the front of the field.
Obviously, for qualifying right now, you can see that a time ticker up on the top left. 20 minutes means you should have decent time to have a couple runs at it. But as you can see, all drivers on track at once in this session. 36 drivers. It's still going to be tough to find your space out there.
Yeah, it certainly is, and we're already seeing that in some places where there's a lot of cars trying to find their own little bit of real estate, and a couple trying to get past drivers and getting held up and using the draft that they can. And right there is a prime example of the fact that Jackson Susan Harlow is getting held up a little bit by Hayden Jericho, who's trying to find his way on by, and Harlow just deciding to let everybody on by and get some clean air, and also get a bit of a draft as well down the front straight this time by. But it's certainly very busy out there in qualifying at the moment, with drivers on laps, drivers not on laps, and drivers trying to find a little bit of clean air at the same time.
And also going to be very exciting that some of the drivers we've got racing tonight, we're also going to see racing TCR Australia at Phillip Island in not too long at all as well. So it's cool to get a little preview in that sense of a bit of TCR racing at Phillip Island, and with some names that are going to be repeated on the timing column going forward in future. Look at some of the conditions for our drivers right now. Overcast, that much you can tell quite easily. Typical for Victoria, obviously. But early in the morning, cool in the air, cool on track, should make it pretty quick. Seeing that pole at the moment is a 1:39.7. Brookfield just got close. George Gutierrez has moved up into third, and John Martin is not driving a Honda, but they've done their best to paint it like it is one. He's just moved up into fifth as well, so he's finding some temperature in his tires, finding some confidence, and also I think most importantly, most critically, finding a bit of space on track where everyone's moving at a similar pace to him and not quite getting in his way.
Yeah, certainly he's found a little bit of space, but certainly the person that has a little bit of space is the cars currently coming through the final corner, and that's getting very, very crossed up is Hayden Jericho again as he just touches the grass on the exit of MG and comes onto the front straight. It was battling with Caleb Hydes on the way down the front straight. He comes across the line to set a 1:52, so not a lap time and doesn't count at the moment. So currently trying to find a way to get a lap time on the board, and so is Isaac Edwards at the moment. He's set a 1:41.436, currently sits P16 at the moment, and starting to see a few more times flow in.
Yeah, Manif to the top of the timing board. It's great to see a driver who's announced that he is going to be making a debut in Australian TCR competition. So someone we've seen plenty of in Club Day Masters, in Circuit XL's E-Series last year, and he has been in many a SimSpeed broadcast in the last 12 months or so. So exciting for him, exciting for us to see that he is going to be making a TCR Australia debut at Phillip Island, and that's a good sign then in qualifying.
Yeah, certainly kicking the night off very well, and also showing that he seems to know what he's doing behind the wheel of a front-wheel drive machine, and certainly a TCR spec one as well. As Robbie Graham comes across the line, sits a 1:40.719 and goes to P20, so himself inside the top 20 with a very, very reasonable lap there, and it's very, very close in qualifying based on what the time's looking at, but looks like Lee Harrison has just put Manif to pole by just over a tenth or so.
Yeah, from what I can see for Harrison, that was on his second or third flying lap out of the pits as well. So it's not like they only get one lap on these tyres. It seems like they keep going, burning off the fuel, etc. They can keep improving. Manif first into the 38s though. So Harrison and Manif starting to trade some times. Watch Luke King. And a very interesting paint scheme he has as well.
Yeah, certainly very, very different. Very, very bright as well with that yellow, but Brandon Vickers, or Vince, comes across the line and does not set a representative lap time at that time by, so have to go around again to try and get a quicker time. Currently sitting in P21 as well, just shy of the top 10 by not a lot of time as well, less than a tenth. But Harlow comes across the line and doesn't look like he improves or sets a valid time either.
Riding on board for a lap of Phillip Island, Jackson Suslan Harlow. He is a bit further down the order than we would expect at the moment, honestly. He set a time, but it is far from representative. He was saying he's struggling with the ABS, or more importantly, the lack thereof, on the setup that is identical across all of the cars. This could be the lap where he gets a little more confident. You can see from all of that tyre smoke as they come down into the hairpin, quite a few drivers are struggling with the braking threshold in a car where normally you probably rely on the ABS quite heavily. Through Siberia, what a torturous corner in a front-wheel drive car, trying to set the exit to be able to gently get into the throttle. All the time, some other drivers are improving, finding time, finding their feet. He's already demoted into 31st before he can complete this lap. Press the top of the hill, and then another difficult braking zone downhill without the ABS, but he still hooks into the apex there quite neatly. might even be lucky enough to pick up a little bit of a slipstream out of the final corner and towards the finish line, Cam.
You might just be able to grab a slither of a draft down the front straight to finish this lap off, but we'll see what the time is when he comes across the line. This time by crosses the line, and it's going to be 1 minute 39.358, so puts himself inside the top 10 for the time being, but it will certainly try to go a little bit quicker over these next few laps. That's about 10 minutes to go, so still plenty of time to try and improve and move up the order.
Spot that Jackson Suzlin-Harlow had is now the spot that Isaac Edwards has. 30th, but through the end of the lap here. The lane on the left-hand side of the circuit there is something the drivers are going to need to keep in mind come the 15-lap races, because they will not be starting with enough fuel to make it all the way. That's going to see a little bit of refueling in the races coming up today. Beneath, on pole still. Oliver got a lot closer to that pole time, but wasn't able to snatch it away just yet. Can Manif put it even further out of reach of the rest of the field? Not on that one, he can't. That was about 4 seconds off his best. He's still out there. I imagine there's some drivers at this point who might consider going for another set of tyres. But Manif's been out on track since the very start of the session. Bargs Jr. in third has been out on track since the very start of the session. We reliably believe that that would be Ben Bargwana driving that car.
It's a little bit hard to tell who it is, but we certainly do make the presumption that it is Ben behind the wheel, and Aaron Oliver straight to the top of the timesheets, but then suddenly Jackson Suzlin-Harlow out of nowhere pips him by 3 tenths compared to the 38.6 that Oliver did. So very, very good lap time from Jackson Suzlin-Harlow to put it on pole for the time being, but we'll see if anybody else can try and knock him off, as Anthony Giasso has just gone slightly quicker. Start to see a few more representative lap times coming in.
Yeah, track temperature is going nowhere. The track is rubbering in. The drivers are getting adapted to the setup, to the track, etc. So I'm not surprised that the times continue to improve, because from all I can tell, the track should be getting better as we get further through this session as well.
Yeah, certainly expect that it would get better and quicker as we get further into the session, with the fact that the fuel is going to drop out and those tyres are going to be within their optimum operating range. But we'll have to see if anybody can still manage to wheel it around and manage to improve on that lap time. So Smith comes across the line and is not going to improve on lap, so he's going to stay P3 for the time being.
Nico Mendes looks to be on a flying lap here. Sector 1, Sector 2 now to bring it home. Again, all of these sort of medium to fast loaded corners, difficult to pick up the throttle in a front wheel drive car. We saw from some of the onboards how much steering angle it takes to keep the thing on track and going the way it wants, but that's a personal best for Mendes. Aaron Oliver, I was going to say practicing his pit entry. Don't rejoin like that, mate. Oh, are you surprised?
Not really.
I think we got what we thought was happening there. Not sure what on earth that was from South Australian Aaron Oliver. He's still second, but that wasn't great.
So hearing that Oliver and Burst have just been given drive-through penalties for impeding qualifying.
I can't say I'm shocked. Definitely we just saw that was pretty questionable from Oliver there. Mulak misses out on improving on his best. He's in the top 5. It's interesting to see where our sort of real-world pros are sitting in the pecking order as well. John Martin came out the gate pretty well. He's in 11th now. We've got Ben Bugwana in 6th. Aaron Oliver for 2nd place, although at the 2nd place on the grid is going to stand. Could be doing very, very well if he managed to finish race 1 in the top 10 with the drive-through penalty.
Yeah, bear in mind also that they've got to do that pit stop as well, and we're probably going to see a safety car in each of the races, so might be able to mitigate that penalty at some point in the race, but certainly we'll need to still work very, very hard to get somewhere in the end, but see what he can do at the end of race 1. But Mario Vartini and currently Caleb Hyde, coming through the final corner, hasn't set a representative, well, has set a lap time, but hasn't really done one that probably is representative of his actual pace. So we'll see what he's going to do when he comes across the line at this time by. It's 1 minute 40.6, so not going to be quicker than what he's already posted, and still going to be sitting all the way down in P29.
Bit of a surprise with time starting to run out in this session. You're only going to get a couple more laps from here, and if you kind of reset and do another outlap or anything like that, then I'd only be staring at 1 more flying lap. Sam Lehman on track, he'd get 2 more if he stayed out there. Brookfield practicing the pit entry. Not a bad idea, a very fast approach speed, then to slow down to the pit lane speed limit of 72 kilometers an hour today. It's a pretty big braking zone on a narrow pit entry, so you don't want to mess that up.
Yeah, certainly not going to want to mess it up at all with the fact that it's a very, very tight entry lane and can easily end in tears if you get it wrong. John Martin not improving on that lap either. George Gutierrez, though, what can he do? Can he improve on his 15th place lap time at the moment? Comes across the stripe to do a 1 minute 42, so not going to be an improvement there for him either.
So who's looking well placed to improve? Probably not Damon Woods there. Very easy in quite a few places to get just a little bit of grass, and that's no good in these front wheel drive cars because either the back comes around or often you get one of the drive wheels on the grass and the car wants to keep pulling off the circuit, you get no traction, and to really get out of the throttle to make the car then turn back onto the paved surface. I'm suddenly not seeing a lot of improvement at the very end of this session, which honestly surprises me for the reasons I mentioned earlier.
Yeah, certainly not too many people improving. Glenn Serra, though, has moved himself in P8 with a very, very reasonable lap and pips Mario Vartini by only 1,000th of a second, and is only 1,000th of a second behind Byron Phillips as well. So very, very tightly packed within that 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th little group there, and probably even including 10th as well with Lee Harrison, who's not too far off Mario Vartini as well.
The current pole sitter. This one's looking pretty good, but a 38.6 is not going to be an improvement to put Paul further out of reach of the challengers. Aaron Oliver is done with his qualifying. Ivan Vantagiato in 4th is done with his qualifying. Mulak from 5th. This lap is already a little slow, and I don't think he's going to get another one. So don't see an improvement for Mulak. Beneath it's possible. Brady Buchanan is also not going to get another lap. Everyone crossing the line now. Their qualifying is done.
Yeah, certainly not going to be able to set another time from this point with the hard cut to qualifying. We'll see what the likes of Glenn Serra and Nick can do. Serra doesn't improve. Martanian doesn't improve either, and Byron Phillips doesn't improve either. So they're pretty much done. Brookfield doesn't go any quicker, nor does Woods and Lehman. So start to see a few more drivers start to see a little bit more of a representative grid at this point. Hank Jackson now coming down to start finish straight in that Jägermeister Mobile, and it doesn't improve on that lap either, so it's going to be starting at least 15th at this point.
He needs Red Bull to go with it because that's what really gives you wings. Other energy drinks are available and commonly consumed by those in the broadcast booth. Jack and Susan Harlow just going to get to finish this lap. Tough to see it really being an improvement on what's already his pole time. Slimly misses out on an improvement again as well. I think George Gutierrez is going to run out of time. He is. Before he can get to the line, time runs out and locks in our qualifying order for race 1 of this special Club Day Masters event, Worlds Collide Simverse Pro. This is going to be the grid. Jackson Susan Harlow on pole for a standing start ahead of Aaron Oliver, who's going to have to serve a drive-through penalty, ahead of Lachlan Manif, ahead of Ivan Fantagiato, then Jordan Mulak, Ben Barguana, actually. Always catches you out. Nearly did the anchor man, just reading what's on the card without thinking. Byron Phillips in 7th, Glenn Serra in 8th, Mario Vartani in 9th, and the top 10 on the grid is going to be Lee Harrison. I'll look at the next 10 as well, where in the meat and potatoes of the field is Dylan Burst, Richard Brookfield, John Martin from 13th for the Wall Racing driver, Matthew Cartalone in 14th, Hayden Jackson, George Gutierrez, Adam Sharp, Nico Mendez, Luke King, and Brady Buchanan. The second half of the field, take a look, Cam.
Yeah, you're going to have Will Neal and Sam Lehman, followed by Josh Haynes and Damon Woods on row 11 and 12. Caleb Hyatt, Dunedin, Thor Burrow, followed by Robbie Graham and Hayden Jericho on row 13 and 14. Greg Holmes and Braden Vicks on row 15. And then the rest of your field is going to be Phil Orty, Isaac Edwards, Jackson Barry, and Tim Rouse, with Matthew Walker and Justin Howe being race control.
34 drivers, it looks like. They're all quite eagerly lining up on the start line here at Phillip Island. The first 3 rows get a little more space than the back rows, as you can tell from that angle. Time, weather, all very, very similar to qualifying. This is our first 15-lap race. I wonder when we're going to see some of our first pit stops happen. Load these cars against the handbrake, rev them up for a standing start, and then release the handbrake now. And we launch into life at Phillip Island. And what a jump from Vantagiato. He's going to grab a couple of spots. Same too from Aaron Oliver around the outside for turn 1. Tyres are still going to be cold. He's going to chop onto the racing line, use all of the track, and Oliver through into the lead. Susan Harlow will know that there's a drive-through penalty hanging over the black Penrite car though. Already a bit of action in Southern Loop though, and a Southern Loop indeed it was for Robbie Graham, but he's got it pointed the right way again. Greg Holmes is doing a bit of gardening, and I think he's going to rejoin near these guys, but the racing continues up the front because Jackson Susan Harlow is under a bit of pressure here from all of those behind as Oliver starts to get clear.
Yeah, certainly. No one's letting the man currently in first, Aaron Oliver, get away, and it's certainly very, very busy from pretty much 10th or so on backwards. You've got the likes of Burst, Mulak and Phillips and various other drivers all scrapping it out. They're going to be nearly 2x2 on the way down towards Hayshed, but there's a little bit of an incident going on still further back in the field. It's Gutierrez and Thornborough are getting into a little bit of a tussle, but at the front of the field, it's Harlow certainly putting the pressure on, looking to the inside, but no gap going to be there for him this time by. But certainly all going on behind as Byron Phillips has been turned, and there's a little bit of contact going on from everybody else.
Byron Phillips got a little bit of a tag, ended up sideways, and plenty of drivers speared into the side of his car, unfortunately, there. So losing a lot of time, and therefore a lot of positions was Lee Harrison. Aaron Oliver is immediately at the end of lap 1 onto pit lane. He's only for his pit stop to top off the fuel, and it's going to be to clear the drive-through. It doesn't really matter. He's going to have to do both in a hurry.
See what he can do with that pit stop out of the way, whether it's going to be the drive-through. No, he is taking his pit stop, so not doing the drive-through now, which is a little bit of an interesting strategy call, but we'll see regardless. And just looking in, Hayden Jackson off the road on the front straight, oddly, just over the start-finish line. So something's happened there between himself and someone else.
Dylan Burse has served his drive-through. I think Aaron Oliver is in trouble because he had the drive-through hanging over his head and then he's pulled into his pit stall. So he's probably going to get held 40 seconds or something in the pit stall, and that will clear the drive-through penalty. But that's actually more costly than just doing the drive-through penalty and the pit stop separately. But he's rolling now at the very, very end of the field. Last car running. They are still battling something fierce up the front, though.
Yeah, certainly going very, very hard on each other early on, and we're only 2 laps into this affair, and Lancera tried to get a move done on John Martin, just couldn't quite get it done at Loogie Heights, but is going to try and size him up on the way towards turn 1 with a nice big draft down at the front straight. He's going to look to the inside with the fact that Martin's going to look to the outside on the way into turn 1. Is he going to be able to get him on the way in? And Martin backs out of it and lets Sarah through. So decision gained there for Glenn.
Yeah, big old slipstream down the pit straight here in these cars. They've almost got to worry about hitting the rev limiter in 6th with these DCT Audi RS3s. Is Ben Bogwana right up behind Lachlan Manif. Manif's going to cover the inside. Mario Vartanian's going to take the opportunity to try to get down the inside there as well, and he's most of the way across for Siberia. Not enough.
Yeah, it's not quite enough in the end, and it's going to slot in behind through Siberia. Stays ahead of it. Me like those just looming in the background of that little battle there, but we'll see what Vartanian can do. I'd say he's probably going to get the job done next time by down the front straight if he keeps this gap that he's got nice and close, but certainly don't want to be fighting with each other too much with the fact that Harlow's starting to break a little bit of a gap away from the rest of the field.
Big slide without the ABS at the bottom of the hill for Ben Barguana. Meanwhile, here's Cardelone trying to get and stay ahead of Nico Mendez. Both of them with a noticeable amount of damage to the front of the car. They're not going for pit lane. No one at the front is. The drivers who have made a pit stop, Lee Harrison down in 24th, is the leader of that group. Nose cam, splitter cam, whatever it is, Vartanian is going to get ahead of Ben Barguana finally, and then presumably park it for the insider Southern Loop. Back and forth, though, between John Martin and Glenn Sierra, because Martin looks like has gotten himself back ahead. Huge slide through Southern Loop is going to cost him some time, and now Sierra back ahead. They've swapped that 3 times, I think.
Yeah, I've certainly been going at it between the two of them, very, well, keeping each other very, very occupied with the fact that they've been going back and forth over these last 4 or so laps, but certainly going to need to keep an eye on that battle behind because of the fact that Cardellone is going to have up the inside Will Newell, and he's going to also have the likes of Nico Mendez and Caleb Hydes who are going to get on by it, thanks to Cardellone running a little bit wide, possibly a little bit of contact there, but certainly a drop back behind, and the rest will take advantage.
Yeah, tough to off-road these cars. You want to keep it on the paved stuff wherever possible. Susan Harley, your lead, has lost a bit of time on this lap, and I think he's complaining potentially about a bit of traffic. It has let Vantagiato and Manif get within his slipstream, which is super important at this track. Looking backwards from Susan Harley, looking forwards from Vantagiato. You're going to see come out the final corner onto the pit straight. 3/10 of a second in it. Vantagiato is probably going to be right with him by the end of the straight here. You can see once they get up into 6th gear, then the trailing car really gets a big advantage.
Yeah, certainly see there's a big advantage in closing speed by the time they get to Southern Loop and Turn 1 as well, with that massive draft down the front straight. But Vantagiato not doing too bad to keep up with Harlow here, who's trying to build a little bit of gap. He's actually closed that gap down as Vantagiato, so going to be in well and truly within draft range, and Manif just sitting in the background waiting for the opportunity to pounce. And Vantagiato looked like he tried to have a move on Harlow, but just wasn't quite able to pull it off in the end.
Good news for this top 3 though is they are still leaving 4th, 5th and 6th behind. Curb camera there, a little further into the track than I think you'd safely put one, or we'd see next weekend. Vantagiato sure looks like he's strong on the brakes there. Across the top of the hill.
Looking very strong as Vantagiato in that final sector, and just don't quite seem to get the drive through the final corner though to keep it with Harlow, but certainly gets that differential back with that draft. Manif still deciding to just sit in behind and be patient here. You'd think he'd actually make his pit stop in the next lap or so and try and pass these guys, but clearly deciding to be a little bit more patient and just cruise on behind the leaders, with the fact that they've got a nice little gap to behind. But John Putton and Glenn Serra once again changing position on the way through Turn 1, so it's going to be another switch of positions between those 2 for 7th and 8th position, but not doing too bad to try and catch up to the pack ahead, who are starting to get a little bit busy. They're actually quite a bit quicker as well, doing one high at 1 minute 38s, but they're going to change again on the way through Honda Hairpin in the background. And this time it looks like John Martin is going to stay ahead, or I just say that, got very, very squirrely on the way into Siberia, but now Glenn's going to try and come back under and over on the way down towards Hayshed. He's going to be outside for Hayshed, but the inside for the following core of Loogie Heights gets a little bit of a bump on the way through Hayshed and had to back out of it, so that's going to be position probably quite secure for John Martin for the time being, but he's going to look but not going to make the move is Glenn Serra, and that's a big lock up there as well, getting it very, very crossed up.
He spent half of this lap sideways, I think, for John Martin. Pretty sideways through Southern Loop a couple times. Very sideways on the way into the hairpin. And once again, has Serra right behind. Probably drafting up, looking to either get down the inside of Turn 1. That's what's happening here. The alternative is stick in line and try to go down the inside at Southern Loop. It's the inside for Turn 1. Come across, block the inside for Southern Loop if you need to. Otherwise, open up the entry a little bit. See, some of the drivers started tracking a little bit of dirt towards the racing line there. Probably doesn't help. Oh, just a touch of the grass on the exit hurts the run off the corner, and Martin's back for 4th, 5th helping on this battle.
Something like that. We need the old advocates out, and
oh, is that the head
break up.
Ay. Well, he's been taking too many notes off John Martin for that one, because that was a big rear lock-up from Glenn Serra, and lucky that it didn't end in catastrophe. He's lost a handful of time to John Martin on that one. It's the top 3.
And the top 3 have been scuffling in the last corner or so through Honda and through Siberia as well. Manif launched it up the inside of Vantagiato on the way into Siberia and nearly had a bit of a moment on the exit, but they're all nice and single file once again. We'll see what's going to happen here. Is anybody going to be any takers to the pit lane? Harlow doesn't decide. Vantagiato and Manif, all top 3, don't decide to go down to the lane, and nor do the top 6.
going to a virtual racing school replay or not? We're going to try to. Here we go. We're looking at Matthew Cardellone. Lee Harrison's there somewhere, I think, as well. This is across Lukey Heights to MG. Well, a bit optimistic.
Yeah, certainly didn't look like he was going to end up pulling that move off, sadly, and it's resulted in a contact between those two and a lost positions for one driver, unfortunately. So he's going to drop down a little bit. Vartanian at the moment still doing his best to try and find a way on by Bargwanna, still hounding at the back of that Audi TCR car just in front of him. They're not too far off the top three leaders as well, running reasonably similar lap times, probably slightly quicker in some respects, so sort of working together as well as the top three. So we're going to start to see these three start to catch that top three at some point, especially with the fact that they're going to have lap traffic starting to come into it.
Whoa, bit of a tap, bit of contact there between Vartanian and Ben Bargwanna. Different speeds at the apex. I don't think there was quite as much meant in that as we saw from some of the other incidents at that part of the circuit, but definitely just got caught out on the concertina there. I do think you normally want to avoid putting damage on these cars. It's a well-hidden dent on the nose of Vartanian and a crinkle on the boot for Bargwanna.
You're certainly going to be a little bit beaten up, those cars for those two, with the fact that they're going to have front and rear damage on each of their cars. But looking like Manif is trying to size up a little bit of a move on Vantagiato on the way down towards the Honda hairpin. Looks to the inside but doesn't quite get the move done in the end, and another puff of smoke from Vantagiato locking that inside front. So Vantagiato going to start to struggle later in this race if he keeps locking it up, but just behind, Mulex managed to find a way on by Vartanian, or trying to at least, trying to hold around the outside, but lets him get back on it by. So a little bit of a move going on there with Mulex trying to give Vartanian a bit of a hurry up, but just not quite able to get the move done in the end.
Normally, tyre wear is not a huge problem for these sort of TCR sprint races, but without the ABS, if they're constantly locking them up, definitely could reach a state where they're getting a bit more wear. Optimistic move now from Mulak results in a bit of door-to-door contact. It's going to force him to try to come around the outside for the last two corners. That's be what Bargwanna needs to get away, and what John Martin needs to catch them. He's still trying to go around the outside of the final corner. Tough place to be, and he keeps it on the track. Mulak's fought so hard to try to finally grab that position. He has. Now you can see behind John Martin and Glenn Serra, so they're not far out of the picture if it becomes an all-out fight for these spots. They're not quite as cooperative as they maybe were for the first two-thirds of the race, as we're now just kind of bringing race one home now on lap 10 of 15.
Yes, up to get to the closing stages of this race, so it's going to be a little bit of crunch time for a few of these drivers, and you'll probably start to see a few more moves happening. There's going to see Gutierrez coming into the lane, and a few more deciding to get some pit stops happening. Many not quite able to get the job done that time by into the hairpin, but did look up the inside and just show the nose. So certainly trying to give Vantagiato a little bit of a hurry up here and trying to get him to, or catch up to, the back of Harlow, who's broken away a little bit from those two in second and third.
JSH trying to break away. It's not quite happening just yet. Mulak's going for another spot.
He certainly is going for another spot as he's made his way on by Mario Vartanian on that lap. He's going to try and size up Barguana on this run down towards turn 1 with the draft, but Vartanian's probably going to come back at him as they head down the straight. It looks to the inside of the front straight for the inside for turn 1, and we'll see if Barguana's going to be able to hold it around the outside. Nope, clears them well before they even get to turn 1. So it's 2 positions gained for Jordan Mulak to move into 5th place.
So he was pretty patient earlier, and now maybe it's paying a little bit of dividends. Some thought that there might be a little bit of fuel saving afoot. So if you were, the tail car in a 3-car pack for most of the race, maybe now you don't have to save big lockup from Vartanian. Tail comes out, hit Barguana, I think. I think everyone was in trouble. Everyone got in a bit deep there. We'll have a look from an alternate angle. Barguana, Mulak, and Vartanian, I think, comes in hot to the party as well.
It just looks like Barguana just breaks a little bit late, or Mulak breaks a little bit too late in the end and runs wide, and then Vartanian breaks too late for Barguana, who's also broken too late, and unfortunately contact has ensued between those two while Mulak's off the road, doing a little bit of lawn mowing with that Audi, but nevertheless not too much loss between those 3, just a little bit more spread out, and it's brought the likes of Glenn Serra and John Martin right into the thick of this top 5 battle. As John Martin's trying to close that gap down to Mario Vartanian, while Glenn Serra is trying to fend off Jordan Mulak. Is going to look to the inside, has to look to the outside, with Serra going defensive on the way down towards turn 1. Is Mulak going to be brave enough to hold it around the outside? He's going to try and do it around the outside, but going to run nearly out of room, and a little bit of a touch between the two of them, and Mulak has to just back out of it and slot in behind.
Yeah, super close stuff through turn 1. Up front, you can see how much Jackson Susan-Harlow is getting away, and I don't think Manif is happy with that, because he's looking around at how he's going to pass Vantagiato, who's a little defensive. He's covering the inside a little bit. Here is attempt number maybe 3 from Mulak to get around Glenn Serra. It's going to include a very wide entry to Siberia. That could be then good through this part of the track to then have a dive at MG if he fancies it. I think he might, because he tried it before. So no move from Mulak just yet. So our leader is about to start. 2 laps to go.
You'd have to think there'd be a move this time by down at the front straight, but move happening down the front straight between 2nd and 3rd. Mini finally makes his way on by Vantagiato on the way into turn 1 with a very, very easy and textbook move. And it doesn't quite look like Mulak is going to make the move actually on the way up the inside, and Glenn Serra is going to just slot in behind. He's going to look to the outside, but is blocked by Mulak as they come towards Southern Loop, and Serra's off the road.
Too hot into Southern Loop. You can do that in any car, in any circumstance. You get it a little bit too hot in the corner, just keeps on going. And once you get that grass, it costs you a lot of time. Not great for Glenn Serra there. Manif, and he's newly found 2nd position. He's trying to hold on to that one. Giotto might be well served to just try to stick with him, try to stay with the slipstream, and then go for a look into turn 1, or maybe even out-drag to the line on the final lap. We'll see. But neither of them look like they've got the speed to close the gap to Jackson Susan-Harlow in the lead.
Chances are pretty slim to close the gap down to, well, catch up to Harlow again at this point with the gap that they've got, which is just over 1.5 seconds. So I don't think Harlow's going to be really challenged from this point onward, as he's going to get popsicle sticks this time by. But with advantage, Giotto and Manif are going to switch positions or not in these next 2 laps, as anybody's guessing. The same goes for the likes of Barguan and Vartanian and Martin as well, who are nose to tail on the way down towards turn 1.
Yeah, a couple cracking battles still in the top 10 as we get towards the end here. Glenn Serra is getting eaten up by a whole bunch of cars. I think he might have some aerodynamic damage there. He just seems like such a sitting duck at the end of the straight. But it's Manif and Vantagiato battling for second and third on the left-hand side of your screen. Battle for fourth on the right-hand side of your screen. John Martin with the cleanest car in that fight. A dark horse to grab a whole handful of positions right at the end here, potentially. Not hurt by Barguana getting in too hot and then getting out on the dirty stuff on the exit of the corner. So that's Martin now up into 5th.
It's a very, very nice move by Martin to move into the top 5 now, and he's going to try and challenge Vartanian for the next position in that top 5, which will be P4, but whether Vartanian's going to make it easier for him or not is going to be the next question. I imagine he's not, but have to wait and see what happens on the way into turn 1. Manif's trying to run away though from Vantagiato, who's doing not too bad of a job, but you can also see they're just behind this little battle pack with the likes of Martin, and that Cal Pies has his hands full with Glenn Sierra, who's found another battle to get involved with, and Nico Mendes not too far on his tail as well. But you can see on the way down towards turn 1, the draft closing with that gap, and he's going to look to the outside of John Martin, but just can't quite seem to carry the overspeed into turn 1, and is just not quite going to be able to get the job done this time by on Mario Vartanian. But he'll try and set the run up on the exit of Southern Loop to try and get the move done into the Honda hairpin.
Yeah, they're rapidly running out of places to try and make a move. It's either Honda or it's MG, and then it's the checkered flag. So Martin's looking, Vartanian covering, of course. Martin very far alongside, around the outside. That can work sometimes to give you the inside for Siberia, but this time it won't. Vartanian holds the spot. Martin and Barguana line up behind. He's going to have to do the same again, though, across Lukey Heights. Cover the inside. Don't give an opportunity for John Martin to grab the spot away, have anywhere to go. Just to defend this one on the final lap. Here it is. Predictably, Martin looking to the inside, all 3 of them going to try to cover the inside. Is there a Honda Audi hybrid width down the inside? There wasn't. And so Mario Vartanian just needs to not make a dog's breakfast in the final corner to hold on to that one. They're not going to catch Jackson Suslan Harlow, who grabs the first race win. That should be pole position for next race as well. Manif ahead of Vantagiato, second and third, and here a drag race to the line, but it's too late for John Martin to grab 4th place away from Mario Vartanian. Barguana just holds with the pack as well.
Yeah, certainly it was only just in the end. We'll get a virtual racing school replay though of the end of the race. We'll see what's happened to Josh Haynes on the way into the Honda hairpin for P20 up the inside. Oh, and that's a little bit of contact with the car ahead. A bit of a bump for Greg Holmes, unfortunately, and looking like a bit of a redress as well as a result of that.
Yeah, there we go. That happening on the final lap. Still a couple more cars that haven't taken the end of the race. That includes Holmes and Haynes here. Then there's Hayden Jericho, Aaron Oliver in 22nd, and Sam Lehman in 23rd. 1 minute pit stop from just not serving the drive-through penalty, right? Super, super costly for Aaron Oliver, who only just takes the checkered flag now. Last car on the lead lap is Brady Buchanan and Byron Phillips. And then the standings get computed and locked in. Let's look at that now. From race 1 of this Worlds Collide special event, here we go. Jackson Suzlin Harlow wins ahead of Manif and Vantagiato. Mario Vartanian in 4th. John Martin moving his way up through the field by keeping it clean to get 5th ahead of Ben Barguana, Jordan Mulak, Glenn Serra, Caleb Hides, and the top 10 was Nico Mendez. Then we had Adam Sharp in our favourite Swedish-looking, Volvo-looking livery. Luke King for 12th, Richard Brookfield, Phil Alty, Dylan Burse, Lee Harrison, Isaac Edwards, Tim Rouse, Greg Holmes, Josh Haynes, and then Hayden Jericho, Aaron Oliver, Sam Lehman, Hayden Jackson, Brady Buchanan, Byron Phillips, Eden Thornborough, George Gutierrez, Jackson Barry, Damon Woods, and, well, they've all gridded up in that order for race 2. Purely progressive grid. We're away with Jackson Susan Harlow from pole, Lachlan Manif sharing the front row of the grid. Manif trying to hold the inside, trying to defend a spot there, and already it looks like Sam Lehman off the track. Be so careful if you go off in turn 1, you don't end up spearing down the inside of Southern Loop. There's Isaac Edwards outside of Southern Loop.
I don't think there was any contact. Very odd for Isaac there, but certainly nevertheless it's all going on at the front of the field. Everybody trying to get on the brakes and trying to stop the cars with no ABS, and it looks like everybody for the most part has done that, minus one who has ended up running off in the form of Hayden Jericho and a few others in the background getting into a little bit of a tussle. Aaron Oliver involved in that turn. It's still going on with the likes of John Martin copping a whack through Siberia.
It's all cold tyres, cold brakes again, and some of them haven't brought that into mind. Racing like they were just a couple of minutes ago, but the cars are heavier again, tyres are cold again, and pack is right together. Your pole sitter has converted so far, but Vartanian, one of the bigger movers then on lap 1 to get up into second. That looks like Vantagiato doing the mowing outside of the final corner, which then of course hurts you all the way down to turn 1. Cars either taking on some fuel or serving a penalty for jumping the start, we heard there might have been.
Yeah, a few coming down onto the lane to get some possible penalties out of the way, and one of those John Martin as well, but Lachlan Manif is not let Vartanian get too far ahead, and same with Jackson Susan Harlow and Barguana not too far behind. Mulak though currently in a tussle with Vantagiato, who's looking up the inside on the way into the hairpin, and that's drama behind as Hale Hides has had contact with Glenn Sierra, I believe, on the way into the hairpin.
Well, the two of them are off, and it keeps going. Mulak also going for an adventure, and Sam Lehman's not having any fun there at all either. A lot of cars off at Honda.
Yeah, certainly gonna need to digest that one with a lot going on with a number of drivers involved in that one as well. And you can just see there John Mulak also getting involved and running it a little bit wide as a result.
At least use his handbrake in that situation if the car's not turning. Here's the view for Sam Lehman as he comes down the hill to the heaviest braking zone on the lap. A lot of smoke in the air in front. There's a new Pope at Phillip Island. And then he comes through the lap and just gets clobbered by car that's already spun there of Hyde's.
Have a look at it properly from above, and Hyde's getting turned there by Glenn Sierra, and unfortunately Lehman coming third and getting it tagged with nowhere really to go and being an innocent bystander in that also. Unfortunately, he's going to drop it down the order, and looking like Giotto's dropped off the back of this top 5 actually. He's lost a few positions and had a little bit of a moment on the way in to MG, but at the moment Vartanian trying to hold off Lachlan Manif, but he's going to get on by, and so is Barguana, it looks like, around the outside, but not quite going to be able to hold it around the outside. Vartanian's going to hold on to 4th at least for the time being.
So it's rinse and repeat of race 1 for Jackson Harlow in the lead. It's rinse and repeat for these guys, Vartanian and Ben Barguana battling, and looking good for Barguana, who gets the inside there. But Adam Sharp, a big mover, up into 5th. Dylan Burst, not doing so bad, up into 6th as well, and Luke King in 7th. It's a bit of a reshuffle from race 1. Those are some guys who've moved up in race 2 and hoping that they can hold on to it. It's just as I say, Luke King needs to hold on to it. He's off the track.
Yeah, certainly a few deciding to go and build sandcastles or try and mow the lawns around Phillip Island here.
Go pat the penguins. You can't do that. You can watch
you
the
can't
penguins.
quite do that.
Don't interfere with our wildlife.
Meanwhile, Sam trying to recover is a lot of lost ground after what happened on the previous lap or so. Can't quite get down the inside of Tim Rosa, and it's just going to sit station behind. Isaac Edwards and Richard Brookfield not too far behind them as well in this little pack for what is effectively the battle for 18th.
It's come around the outside almost of Southern Loop. That's going to get him very close to the big sweeping left-hander. And he looks to the inside. Everything should be pretty warm, pretty good by this point in the lap, in the race, on lap 4. And a bit of a slam dunk for Lehman, who's coming back through the field. Isaac Edwards next to try to make a look at Rouse, who gets it all sideways. It's going to be this ILEC car for Richard Brookfield making some moves as well.
Certainly trying to get his way up the order as Brookfield. Just gonna not quite be able to do it this time by NTMG. Might surprise us. No, decides to sit behind and just be a little bit patient. Oh, getting very squirrely though on the brakes on the way through, and that's gonna allow Isaac Edwards to just slot on by. Nearly a little bit of contact between the two of them, with Edwards on the outside, but he's gonna get that position off him in the end.
Oh, no tap there. Just pulling out of the slipstream, getting to the inside for turn 1. Not always a slam dunk move, but Isaac Edwards is gonna lose out on that one. Southern Loop wasn't his friend on lap 1. He's gonna be a little more careful with it now. Oh, off the road, Vartanian gives 4th place to Adam Sharp. Dylan Burst sneaks through as well.
It's not that he will have hoped for at all to make that mistake, and certainly punishing him quite dearly as a result. Buchanan is running off the road on the way in with a virtual racing school replay, just going a little bit too deep on the brakes by the looks of it. Yeah, it's very deep, and as a result just dropping somebody else onto the dirt, getting a little bit crossed up and managing to hold onto it nicely, but is going to drop it down the order as a result. And behind it, Jackson has got a new leader as well in the form of Lachlan Maneve.
Yeah, picking up a bit of chatter. I think JSH is just sick of leading the laps. I was always told, don't don't play with my food, but I think that is what is happening here. He's let Manif through into the lead of the race for the minute. These two are still pretty clear of Jason Bargwanna as they're going to go side by side on the exit here. Susan Harley very well could get it back side by side for the lead. Got to be careful not to tangle with each other at this point. At the moment I say that, they're just going to, you know, go shoulder to shoulder. The inside for Manif. He gets in hot there. A little too hot. Nope. Looks good. Right on the limit of it though.
Yeah, hello. Probably paying a little bit of patience game. Probably trying to have a little bit of fun as well with the fact that he knows he's got a very, very good pace advantage over everybody else. Looks to the inside of Manif and does a little bit of a fake to try and make him run wide, but Manif is wise to the old school move and looking very late on the brakes on the way down towards MG as well as Harlow trying to get another mistake out of Manif, but Manif again just not budging and managing to hold off the attack.
Tantalizingly close to letting Ben Bargwanna get into the slipstream as well. He's just a second off the back of Jackson Susan Harlow. JSH though, he's going to get left a lane to the outside. He's going to look to the inside very, very late. Very late look there. Almost into the side and almost turning Manif. Manif will hold on to the high ground for the moment. He'll get a little squirrely in the middle of Southern Loop, but then square it all off for the exit, which is very, very important because he knows he's going to come under attack once again at the bottom of the hill here. Covers the middle of the road in hot. Bit of a brake lock up at the rear. Lets Jackson Susan Harlow get his nose in the inside there. They're going to go back and forth like this for a bit, I feel.
Yeah, certainly going to be very, very close, and Harlow's possibly going to want to try and get on by and Bargwanna not too far in the background as well, so have to be very, very careful not to hold each other up too much. I think Bargwanna is probably just within draft range as well, so might be able to get up to these top two at some point, but Harlow around the outside just not quite able to get the job done in the end, and then he'll close that gap up between himself and Bargwanna even more again. So certainly starting to see a three-way fight starting to form, and Dylan Burris actually not too far in the background as well, so possibly you could see a four-car fight for the lead here at some point.
There is traffic not going to get in the way of Manif and Harlow, and they're a ferocious little scrap. Looking for the inside of Southern Loop is Susan Harlow. Both of them cover the inside a little more than you otherwise would. And it's near enough a replay of a lap ago. Covering it again. Trying to do a cross back here at the hairpin. So, oh, he's going to look... Well, optimistic is one way to describe a couple of those.
Meanwhile, Vartanian and Adam Sharp currently duking it out a little bit further back behind these two who are fighting quite hard at the front of the field, where Harlow's trying to still find a way on by. He's going to get around the outside, have the inside, but Manif's going to cut him off and say, I will hold on to that position. Sharp still holding off Vartanian, who's wanting to find a way on by the Volvo machine, or quote-unquote Volvo machine, and Vantia Gidiato just in the background as well.
It's a Swedish Audi. Whatever, Jay. Well, he's under pressure into turn 1. Vartanian, big move to the inside. And also, there's a big move for the lead as well. Jackson Susan Harlow finally gets back what he gave away earlier. Susan Harlow to the lead from Manif Barguana, trying to stick with them. And Adam Sharp, having lost 1, he's under pressure to lose another. Vantagiato is shaping up to get down the inside, looking all the way there. They're going to have to go through a cloud of smoke. And it's from Vartanian, because he is off. And he's not the only one. It's a popular place to be.
Yeah, certainly not the only one to end up off the road by the looks of it. It looked like it was Caleb Hydes who found himself building sandcastles in the dirt in the background.
Here we go, Sharp and Vantagiato again. Oh. Do we have a safety car? We sure definitely do. Race 1 went green. Well, here we go. Susan Harlow will probably be pretty happy that he managed to get that lead back before this safety car. So your top 10 goes Jackson Susan Harlow, Lachlan Manif, Ben Barguana, Dylan Burst, Adam Sharp, Ivan Vantagiato, Mario Vartanian, Thornborough, Aaron Oliver, and Luke King. Well, there's a couple people this is going to help, including some who maybe had to do some repairs early on. Is it going to help? John Martin's 2 laps down? Okay. I was wondering if there's some drivers who are going to get a lap back out of this as well, Cam.
It should be hopefully some wave arounds happening for some of these lap drivers who are within the lead group, the likes of Brendan Vinks and a few others, obviously still laps down as well, get their laps back hopefully.
But Cam,
wait and see.
New pace car this build.
Yes. All right, let's play again. Well, what do we think it is? I want to say it's a Corvette, but I could be wrong.
Is this where I've got to say I've driven in a race that had a Corvette pace car?
I don't know.
But apparently, the new pace car we're getting is just going to be a generic sedan. Even the inverted commas generic pickup truck pace truck we have that's mainly for dirt events looks very, very, very much like a Chevrolet Silverado. So I'm imagining the sedan will probably look like something, even if it's not a licensed or branded product. So Club Day Masters love a different pace car. So we get another one.
You're certainly going to be able to switch it up a little bit more and make it a little bit more interesting to see what we get for a pace car as Harlow fakes an entry into the pit lane. Don't think you'd really want to pit at this point, especially if you know you're not going to need any fuel. We'll see what happens though, regardless of any. Well, see if anybody decides to come down onto the lane. And Vantagiato's had a moment on the way into pit lane.
I wouldn't want to be an industrial estate anywhere near Jackson Susan Harlow. The way he's been ripping skids behind the pace car. Still lights on the safety car. There's a couple cars that are probably going to get waved around at this point. Looking at who are some of the first ones off the lead lap. I think it's mainly John Martin, Jackson Barry, Greg Holmes. Retirements, Caleb Hydes, Hayden Jericho, Josh Haynes, which is a real shame because he's got such a great name. And we didn't see Will Newell, Phil Alty, or Matthew Cardelone take the start of his second race from what I can tell.
Yeah, it doesn't quite look like they've taken the start. So really, it's only from 28th to 24th, really, that need a wave around.
So what are we looking at? Another lap and a half behind the safety car, I think, here. So we're going to go green with 3 laps to go, you reckon, Cam?
I would say they would. Well, we'll probably get the lights off. Oh, hold on. Wait,
Lights off this time with 4 to go.
Shouldn't they be off this time, in theory?
Yeah, normally, but I think it did get... I think it got extended by a lap when they started doing wave arounds and when they changed... when they changed the instruction from a double file to a single file restart.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, you've got
Haven't even done that yet.
So, gonna end up going green on lap 13, so yeah, we'll be 3 to go.
Assuming no other changes. What timing would correctly give me who's been the biggest movers in this race too. I've got to go and manually calculate it myself like a pleb. Dylan Burse, currently in 4th, came from 15th on the grid. We've got Eden Thornborough's come from 27th on the grid to 7th plus 20 positions. Aaron Oliver, a little less moves than that. 1st and 2nd, though, are as they started this race. Well, they're being told to line up 2 by 2 by 2, which is not what should happen, but lights are off the pace car.
So it looks like we're gonna get a double file restart. Maybe not. We're gonna get a single file one by the looks of it.
Should be single file. Bit of an interesting track to be the lead car on the restart here as well. So you could get got down into turn 1 if you, don't time it well as the lead car.
Certainly the opportunity for that lead to change very, very quickly on the way down towards turn 1 with that big draft. If you're someone like Jackson Susan Harlow with the if he doesn't time it right. So we'll see whether he decides to go late or whether he decides to go early. I think you go late to try and keep that draft to a minimal, but we'll have to wait and see what he does.
Manif is right underneath his rear bumper, though. He's ready, keen to go. He's paying attention. Might be someone in the train not paying quite as much attention, but Manif is ready.
It's certainly
Safety car's going to be in this time. How keen Manif is. Safety car is in. Susan Harlow's keeping him waiting. In fact, he's slowing them up a little bit, all the way down about 80 k's an hour, and now he's going. And that's a reasonable enough jump. Some behind who are getting caught out on this one, for example. A bit of a gap between Dylan Burst in 4th and Adam Sharp in 5th. So not a lot of pressure on Jackson Susan Harlow. He's done that one just perfectly. Where there is pressure, I think, is back here with Aaron Oliver. King around the outside. I think he's actually gone and taken that one away from him. I'm pretty sure Oliver restarted in 8th. There's You can judge the gap between first and second as nothing. Susan Harlow's defending the inside, chopping right across, and Manif doesn't know what to do about it. He's had a little bit of a lock-up, and Barguana is right with them. Dropped burst just a little bit.
Yeah, certainly have Baron Oliver's got his hands full at the moment, getting very crossed up on the way into Siberia. He managed to hold onto it quite nicely, but has lost a massive chunk of time, and that's backed up that entire pack behind him all the way down to about 16th place. So everybody hot on his tail now and wanting to find a way on by, but no one's going to be able to get past Dunn. Although that said, Hayden Jackson's going to have Gutierrez on his outside for MG. As there's contact behind them all as they're bunching up, but everybody seems to have managed to get away with that one. 3 wide on the way through MG, why don't you?
Yeah, a lap or two behind the safety car, and everyone forgot how the brakes work on this car. That's still 3 wide, Lemon around the outside, and in the middle, it might have been Buchanan who ended up needing to give up on that one. Sharp roasted his tyres as well. Big lock up. Lemon still down the inside of Richard Brookfield for 10th. And throws it into turn 1. Needs to gather it up. Brookfield takes the opportunity to try to get around the outside, but it is a long way around the outside of Southern Loop.
Yeah, it certainly is, and just not quite going to be able to make it happen. You've got Byron Phillips just looming in the background. He's looking left and right and everywhere which way he can to try and find a way on by. There's a bit of a tussle going on between Luke King and Harrison and Oliver as well, just up the road.
Poor Gutierrez facing the wrong way. Off track there, it's gone and towed. Luke King, always easy to spot in the pack. He's managed to hold on to his position in this bit of a battle with Eden Thornborough behind him in the every colour of the rainbow on that machine. Oliver, easy to spot as well, taking a look at Lee Harrison, who's going to defend the inside into turn 1. Start of the final lap, though. I was wondering if with the safety car we've ended up going time certain, but it is in fact the start of the 15th lap. It was a little touch and go. If we'd had more time behind the safety car, that could have happened. But instead, it is the lap count, lap 15, means it's just a couple more big braking zones for some of these guys to hold on, for Luke King to worry about what on earth is going on in the mirrors behind him for 6th place.
Certainly a bit of drum, and that's Harrison around and off the road, as well as Hayden Jackson too.
Front, Jackson Susan Harlow has a decent gap from beneath. Barguana and Burst, you can see battling for the final podium position here. And importantly, this is still a progressive grid into the final race as well. So they're battling also for where they're going to start next race. Lehman off exploring the delights of Phillip Island. It's going to give a position or so away to a couple. Going to be Jackson Susan Harlow to win again. He had a bit of a tussle with Manif. He couldn't hold on. Barguana and Burst still going for 3rd and 4th. And here is Brookfield around the outside of Glencera in their drag race to the line. And Brookfield just holds on to 9th place.
Yeah, just about. And 3 wide to the line for 16th place, sorry, and it's looking like Tim Rose is going to end up coming away with that one in the 15th and for 16th, it's going to be Robbie Graham coming away with that 3-way fight with Woods just behind, and Jackson in 19th with Hayden Jackson, in 18th, Isaac Edwards 19th, and Lee Harrison running at the top 20 by the looks of it.
Well, we get a little bit more time to catch our breath between race 2 and race 3 because there's a 5-minute warm-up in between. But this is how they finished race 2. Jackson Susan Harlow, 2 from 2. Lachlan Manif, 2 from 2 in position 2, I guess. And then Ben Bargwana, Dylan Burst, Aaron Oliver, Eden Thornborough, Byron Phillips, Jordan Mulak in the top 10 again. We saw Richard Brookfield and Glenn Sarah side by side to Barney with the checkered flag. And it was Richard Brookfield who ended up victorious in their little scrap. Brady Buchanan right behind. Luke King, Adam Sharp, Sam Lehman, Tim Rouse, Robbie Graham, Damon Woods, Hayden Jackson, Isaac Edwards. In the top 20 was Lee Harrison.
I'm going to go over the page you have John Martin, the first car a lap down, followed by Braden Vinks and Greg Holmes, Jackson Barry, George Gutierrez, and Mario Vartanian, Nico Mendez. Starting to get into the DNFs, and then Vantagiato, Hydes, Jericho, Haynes, your DNFs.
Well, as we catch our breath between race 2 and race 3 of this Club Day Masters Worlds Collide special event, maybe they should have picked that name more carefully, because it definitely seems like there's been a lot of colliding out there. We've got to thank the normal Club Day Masters sponsors and backers from Digital Marketing Tribe, Aussie Karts, and I forget which the auto tunes are, because they're places in South Australia that I've never been to. We've got KP Tech as well, and of course VAG Parts for this special one as well. I had a quick look at their website, and I think I'm going to buy an Audi RS4 badge to stick on the back of my dad's Prius.
Of all cars to choose.
I've been given the reaction I deserved for that. But again, looks like a completely progressive grid from race 2 to race 3, which will delight Jackson, Susan Harlow. Here's where we are. South Australia is all the way off there with their Modbury and something Grove auto tunes. If you're local, you'd know. So here we are. Penguins off to the left. San Remo off to the right. Phillip Island in the middle here since 1956 as a permanent race course. 4.5 kilometers, very flowing with the exception of those 2 hairpins at Honda and MG. A lot of history on 2 wheels, on 4 wheels, and that history is going to continue next weekend. We have also seen a lot of overtaking happen at turn 1 just because of the speed they carry through turn 12, the slipstream on these aerodynamically identical TCR cars, and the fact that they almost seem to hit that rev limiter as well.
Yes, they get up a lot of speed on the way down into turn 1, and certainly the gearing it doesn't quite like it, but it's one of those things about this car is that you certainly have to make sure that you're on that limiter as hard as you possibly can, with it being so equal as well with these fixed setups as well. So certainly making these gearboxes and engines work quite hard on the way into turn 1, but nevertheless, it's been a very, very good night of racing at the front of the field, at least, with a lot of battling, and certainly a lot of battles throughout the field as well.
Half a minute before they start lining up on the grid for the final race of the evening. Most drivers not just taking the opportunity to take a break. Not Jackson Barry. He has been making sure he plays with the handbrake. Yeah, there it is. In some of the rallycross Audi heritage, I guess. Not a Quattro, because it's a TCR car.
I mean, all it needs is the livery and an extra differential, and you've got one there.
Double the horsepower while you're at it. Give it an extra
Yeah.
cylinder. But that's that. They're about to line up for the final race of the evening, and this is the order they are going to do it. How they finished race 2. Jackson, Suzlin Harlow, Lachlan Manif again, and then Ben Bhagwan, Dylan Burse, Aaron Oliver, Eden Thornborough, Byron Phillips, Jordan Mulak, Richard Brookfield, and Glenn Sarah. I haven't been keeping track of any rolling points or nothing, but it's fair to say Jackson Susan Harlow in first, Lachlan Manif in second.
It's probably a fair assumption. Harlow's got this one with at least one hand on the trophy for the Knights Racing, based on the fact he's had 2 wins, so probably won't take much to end up with the overall win, although he's still got Manif to contend with, so just to kind of make sure that he doesn't end up too far back if he has a moment.
Let's go for another 15 laps of Phillip Island. How has the launch been from our cars at the front? Pretty even, but behind, they're starting to fan out 2 wide, 3 wide. Good launch from Ben Bargwana as well. He's going to get down the inside for second. Dylan Burse in the Flamingo Mobile is going to go door to door with Manif, and Artanian's not had a great start. He's off the track, well off the track.
He's not had a great exit there, and Burse ending up into the dirt, managed to rejoin quite nicely. No real major issue there as they head through towards the hairpin. Is any drama going to unfold? Doesn't look like it is. Nope, don't take the back. Same Lemon having a moment on the inside, and I believe Dane Jackson on the outside as well. So a few cars off, but it doesn't look like there's any sort of major issues that have happened there. Oh, Lachlan Manif though off at Siberia.
Does appear he's gathered it up. Oh, that's all the way off the track for Bargs. Ben Bargwan taking a huge. That's not a shortcut. He's found the wall there. So yeah, there's a lot of damage. A lot of damage on that car. Jackson Susan Harlow leads. Aaron Oliver's worked his way up into second. Dylan Burse in third, and then Manif, all sorts of pressure from Byron Phillips, Jordan Mulak, and Sarah in the train here as well. Oh, Luke King's going to get down the inside of him and force him a little wide at the final corner. Oh, with a bit less pressure, Manif's going to do the same thing as well.
Yeah, it's looking like he's going to try and do something here. These 4 Mulak tried to go to the inside of Phillips, but couldn't quite make it happen with 2 wheels in the dirt for good measure.
All action up front. Repairs going on there, necessitated for Ben Bargwana. Here's Mulak looking at Phillips. Lock up from Phillips on the inside. Is he going to get tagged? And Luke King has found out that the breakover angle on the Audi TCR is, it leaves something to be desired if you go off-roading.
Yeah, it certainly is. That's car off in the background. That was, I believe, Brendan Vinks, by the looks of it, who's ended up being fired off the circuit thanks to a little bit of contact with Jackson Barry.
Yeah, got a little replay to explain some of that. Aaron Oliver from drive-through penalty in race 1 tried to make some recovery there, make some recovery through race 2. to the progressive format. Now back up into third. You can see how Luke King ended up, well, beached.
He didn't quite make the ward. It's not the region we hoped for. And I think Edwards being the unfortunate victim in that one as well, with nowhere to go, unfortunately. So he's going to have quite a lot of damage as a result of that. John Martin, though, currently pressuring the back of Brady Buchanan quite nicely. Trying to size him up for a move on the way into the hairpin. No, in a sit station for the time being, not quite close enough to get the move done.
So with a lap or two in the book, Suzlin Harlow's trying to get away in the lead. And there's a lot of contact going on at Honda. Sam Lehman already off. Vinks and Gutierrez tangled into each other. Greg Holmes getting back on the circuit.
Grab a virtual racing school replay to try and see what's happened there. Gutierrez appears to be missing his front end there, but Lehman going into the hairpin and just running a little bit too deep, and that's Jackson Barrow, I believe, off the road there. So he's managed to clip him, and then Gutierrez and co have come together by the looks of it on the way in as well.
Well, back live, bit of damage on the car for Lachlan Manif makes him look like a bit of a sitting duck. Mulak, huge head of steam, goes nowhere with it.
Do we have to wonder if Mulak's just possibly sitting in behind waiting, or is he going to size and move this time by move to the inside just yet, and not quite going to happen, but that's a little bit of a mess. Barry and hides off the road.
Personally, I wouldn't have gone to a replay of it, but here we are.
Oh no, oh, that's a big impact. I think that one wrote all we need to know about it.
Yeah, the combined IQ there approached 3 digits in that little scrap. Mulak and Manif, though, are having a much cleaner battle. You wouldn't quite know it from some of the damage on the front of the car for Manif, but looking pretty factory as the Audi Customer Racing spec was delivered for Jordan Mulak. And it seems like he has good straight line speed, but he just needs to make sure that the run works. And he can then have a dig at Manif, who isn't used to finishing anywhere but second in these races so far today, it seems.
And up the pointy end of the field has Manif, and not quite going to have Mulak firing it up the inside at this time, at least into turn 1. But whether Mulak is going to fire it up the inside at the hairpin, we'll have to wait and see as they come on through down the hill out of Southern Loop towards the hairpin. He's looking to the inside, but he just decides to sit behind Ian once more.
There's still a long way to go in this one, so he doesn't need to be too rash. And the way they're going, similar lap times to John Martin, Lee Harrison, etc. behind. The way, great. We saw some great battles for John Martin in race 1, and then unfortunately race 2 was not kind to him at all. He has moved up 15 positions in just 5 laps of this race 3, so it's great to see John Martin back into the top 10, where we saw him having some great battles and some very fair battles as well, particularly with Sarah in the first race. Maybe a bit missed in race 2, but right there, back in the thick of the action, and probably picking up a bit of a toe off these two.
He's certainly going to be getting a little bit of a draft on from the two ahead of him. Probably not quite going to be close enough to get a big draft and close that gap up rapidly, but he's at least going to close that gap up somewhat as they head it down towards turn 1. These two kind of have to be a little bit aware that they don't want to be battling too hard with Martin not too far behind them, but we'll have to wait and see what happens. But Manif's run a little bit wide on the way on the exit of turn 1, and he's going to do nearly the same at turn 2 as well.
The top 3 spacing out. This is where it seems like the excitement is in the top 10 at 4th place. Well, that's right with him again. Not looking for the inside though, surprisingly, with how quick he seemed coming down the hill.
Yeah, I didn't think he was... Well, I'll get there eventually. You would have thought he would have tried to make the move, but just decided to be a little bit patient once again. He's possibly knows he's got the pace to get on by, but doesn't need to fire it on it by. Possibly doesn't quite know whether he's going to be able to catch up to burst or not, but certainly knows that if he does pass Manif will just blow on it by. So trying to play a little bit of the long game here is Mulak, but we'll have to wait and see what happens in the next few laps or so, and whether he's going to be able to find a way on by, or whether he's just going to sit there till the last lap. But they'll certainly have to start thinking about getting a little bit of momentum with the fact that John Martin's really started to close that gap up.
See what this lap time is, but the previous one, Manif was quicker than Burst in 3rd, so maybe Mulak's just trying to ride with for the moment. Let's see. Pretty equal between 3rd and 4th actually that time. Here comes Brookfield on Buchanan. Oh, it was Lehman off track getting out of the way, I think. Did we ever ask where the Beacon name comes from for Richard Brookfield?
I don't think we actually did. Would be interesting to know though.
I wonder if it's a broadcastable story as well. That's always what's got to keep in mind. So this would be Robbie Graham and Byron Phillips. Or Phillips was intent on keeping his nose in that one. And Robbie Graham around the outside has gone for turn 1, and it's not ended so great for him. And he knows you got to make sure you got plenty of speed when you hit that bump, otherwise you'll get stuck. Robbie Graham is not going to get beached on a berm.
You're not quite going to end up beached as that time.
Beached as through.
Yeah.
He's parched as he needs a bucket or a hooze or something. Man, like 2007 called on that one, I think. Anyway, here's Mulak once again. Huge run up behind Manif. And was he pushing him along there? Regardless, it's meant John Martin is right there, and it's 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, all battling through the opening sector of the lap.
And John Martin nearly getting off the road there as well. And they kind of had to back out of it on the exit as he nearly ended up dropping 2 wheels in the dirt and having a much worse moment. But still single file for the time being. Running a little bit deep though is Martin, and same with Harrison as well. Trying to square the corner, or diamond the corner off, but not too much gained as a result. If anything, more lost than gained. So not what those two will have wanted at all. But still, that is just ahead of them. Manif and Mulak still single file and still being patient with each other.
Yeah, it is a real surprise just how placid Mulak is right here. Wonder if it's going to take John Martin or Lee Harrison to force a bit of action. in this battle. It's very clean, undamaged for Martin and Harrison as well. So I don't see any reason why they wouldn't get right in here.
I'm wondering if maybe Martin's thinking the same thing that Mulek is, and maybe just seeing him behind to catch up to the car ahead of Dylan Burst. Mulek doesn't go for the move. Martin looks to the inside, though, of Mulek, and Mulek going to run too deep, and that's going to be off the road for him, unfortunately, and he's going to lose a few positions. He might even drop in behind Brookfield. It looks like he is going to lose the position to Brookfield as well, so not what he will have wanted. Where he was sitting up the inside, though, is Adam Sharp on it, Byron Phillips. Phillips trying to hold it around the outside, but Esther can see the position, and Sharp's going to keep that position off Byron Phillips.
Yeah, right on 10th place here. Defending that one pretty vigorously against Byron Phillips, who was trying to cut back underneath, go over under, and it wasn't doing anything for him. Just going to set up the final two corners.
Martin running a little bit wide there through Southern Loop, nearly allowed Harrison to get on through. Byron Phillips trying to get his way on through Adam Sharp, though. But we'll see what John Martin's going to do here on the way to the hairpin. Manif defends, and Martin's going to try go around the outside. Not quite going to break late enough, though, and is going to stay in behind Manif. Does the cut back over, though, and is going to be on the outside for Siberia. He's going to try and hold it around the outside. Not quite going to be able to do it, and he's going to try and do the over and under again. No overlap, though, that time.
Yep, keeping the pressure on Manif, and then in turn, Lee Harrison keeping the pressure on him. So wide entry at Lukey Heights. Inside's absolutely going to be covered, though. Manif sees that one happen. He's trying to change lanes, and the braking zone has caused a lockup for John Martin as he went to try to open it back out. One of the brakes, and that's thrown him backwards a little bit.
So allow Harrison to try and have a go at turn one, you'd have to think. We'll see what he does. Is he going to pull out? No, he's not. Just going to sit in behind and try and push John Martin along, try and catch up to Manif, and running a little bit deep on the way in to turn one was John Martin. Then nearly ran off the road from keeping his foot well and truly in it, but managing to keep it on the black stuff for the time being. And has closed that gap back up to Manif quite nicely. But what's going to happen down here at the hairpin? He's not going to look to make a move, but pokes the nose out to try and force Manif to go a little bit deep on the brakes. Doesn't quite manage to make that happen, though.
No, the lap's starting to unwind now. Harlow leading 1.2 seconds from Oliver. Dylan bursts in his own bit of no man's land, just staying clear of these guys as those behind fight. John Martin, incidentally, biggest mover, 16 positions gained, and he clearly wants 17.
He certainly wants 17 to try and get another position on the board and try and finish fourth here, but we'll see what's going to happen, and lap traffic starting to come into effect now with the fact that they've got a few of them ahead.
Here they go right up against the limit for turn 1, and then needing to shave off a lot of the speed for Southern Loop. Some uphill crests in the middle, and then it goes downhill. You need to be wary of pushing too wide on the exit. Many have made that mistake, including Lee Harrison, who did a bit of mowing there earlier in the race.
So pushing very hard, nearly off the track there in the background. Head brake out of it just ever so slightly, but still single file between these three. You have to wonder what's going to happen on this last lap between these three and who's going to pounce when, really. They're just not too far up the road now as well as a result of that lap traffic.
Yeah, we've got a fastest lap of the race at 38.5. The last lap for Burst was 40.2. The track's still very cool. No breeze to speak of out there as well. Basically static conditions. And with 3 to go, gap for the lead is underneath the second for the first time in a long, long time. Harlow maybe gone through the tyres a little much. Or is he hunting for sport again?
We did have an off a few laps ago at the final quarter, trying to take him flat apparently for a bit of fun, and that clearly didn't work, so he's lost a bit of time as a result of that. But we'll see whether Aaron Oliver's going to be able to try and close that gap down enough to have a go in these last 2.5 laps, and we'll see when also John Martin decides to pounce on Lachlan Manif, and when Lee Harrison decides to try and have a go at both of them, as Manif's going to go defensive into the hairpin. Martin's going to hold it around the outside proper this time, and manages to just get the power down early enough to hold it around the outside and have the inside for the next corner. Contact between the two of them. Manif barely stays on the pavement, and Lee Harrison's now going to manage to try and get both of them. He's going to have a go at trying to get both of them. He's got at least one of them at the moment around the outside at Hayshed. Is he going to be able to do it? It looks like he is, and Manif is going to try and follow him on through to get the position back off John Martin. A little bit.
Is that a bit of a return serve from Manif to John Martin on that one? Potentially. Lee Harrison is in 4th. It's all kicking off now, isn't it?
Yeah, it certainly is. With 2 to go this time by, they're starting to run out of laps. A little bit of a dust kicked up there by John Martin just in the background. Harrison, though, on the outside of Manif, and here comes John Martin in the background. Harrison's got enough of a run with the outside momentum on his side. They're going to be 3 wide on the way into turn 1, though, nearly, as Manif's going to end up losing it 2. Harrison's going to try hold it around the outside at turn 1, though. And Manif just about going to come away with the position, but Harrison's going to hold on.
Off the track for Manif. It's going to drop it back a little bit, exited the southern loop, costing him some time. Martin in 4th from Harrison in 5th. Just start to see Mulak and Brookfield in the background might be able to catch them as well. On the right-hand side of your screen, that's the lead battle. Oliver starting to be able to hunt down JSH at the lead.
I think he's going to be close enough to get a move done on the way into turn 1, but could be proven wrong. We'll have to see what he can do and whether he's gotten a good enough exit out of MG and out of the final corner as well to start the final lap.
Here we go, one last tour of the island for Jackson, Susan Harlow and Aaron Oliver. And also for John Martin to try to hold on to fourth, for Lee Harrison to try to grab fourth. Looks like for Mulak to try to hold off Richard Brookfield as well.
Yeah, certainly one last circulation for a number of these drivers to try and get a position or hold off a charge from behind. Doesn't look like Aaron Oliver's going to be able to get to the back of Harlow by the looks of it. No move between Manif, Harris and Martin, but Brookfield not quite able to get on by Mulak though, after getting a little bit squirrely on the way through the hairpin as well.
So a little bit of hold station on the last lap. Oliver not really close enough to challenge JSH at this point. You definitely feel like Harrison might try to have a dig at John Martin though, to the final big braking zone of the lap. Martin has a little bit of a lockup, has a bit of a slide. Is it going to cost him enough? It is. It is. Lee Harrison through to fourth, John Martin back into fifth. Meanwhile, Jackson Susan Harlow goes 3 from 3 perfection at Phillip Island in Club Day Masters Worlds Collide. Burst is going to hold on for a podium, not hindered by the battling going on behind. Is that Manif all the way out almost to the wall?
And certainly a very, very close finish between those three, and probably not the result that Manif probably wanted. But looks like Adam Sharp's not quite going to get Nico Mendes. And it doesn't look like Hayden Jackson's going to move any further forward. Same with Damon Woods, Robbie Graham and Greg Holmes to round out the top 16.
Bit of a fall from grace for Penn Bargwana as well. He's going to end up down in 17th, not the clean race that he sort of had in race 1 and 2. When he crosses the line, that brings us the results. Gain 3 from 3 for Jackson, Suzlin Harlow, Aaron Oliver at second, Dylan Burst in third. Lee Harrison from John Martin from Lachlan Manif. They went flying down that page as we clicked to it. Jordan Mulak gets 7th, Richard Brookfield gets 8th, Ray Buchanan in 9th, and Byron Phillips in 10th.
Yeah, going to go over the page with Nico Mendes, Adam Sharp, Hayden Jackson, Damon Woods, and Robbie Graham to round out the top 15 with Greg Holmes and Ben Bargwana to round out the final car on the lead lap, and then you get back to Brendan Vinks and Isaac Edwards, Luke King, all 1 lap down, and Tim Rouse, Jackson Barry, Evan Vance Giotto, Caleb Hyde, Sam Lehman, George Gutierrez, Glenn Serra, and Mario Vartanian, all DNFs.
Yeah, not alone as we get into the retirements. Tim Rouse, Jackson Barry, Evan Vance Giotto, and then all the retirements and a bunch that didn't take the start as well. Somehow Mario Vartanian completed 3 less laps than there actually was in the race. I don't know, that's some talent. Well, we get the chance now, after 3 races, to speak to some of our drivers. We'll take the podium from the final race then, I reckon, and start with Dylan Burse. Would have spent a lot of that race there, Dylan, sort of keeping tabs on what was happening in front and just trying to stay away from that battle for 4th place behind.
Yeah, look, pretty much, it was quite boring. I really had no pace as well. So I was basically just driving along, trying not to bin it too much, but yeah, kept making way too many mistakes and just had no pace in general. So, bit of a shame, but oh well, still did alright.
they fit these cars with ABS, and normally people want to use it. How much different is the car to try to drive without it?
Yeah, look, it's very different. It's difficult, but it's actually probably a bit better, eh? I mean, it's a bit more like driving a real car, and yeah, it's just a lot funner, to be honest.
What about the format across the 3 races, the progressive grid? We had a safety car in the middle race. How did the first 2 go?
Yeah, they were a bit average, that's for sure. Yeah, the first one I got a drive-through in it from having a little incident quali there. So basically that was just a done race. So I started out a 16th for the second one and wasn't going terrible. I was about 4th. Then a safety car pulled out, which helped a little bit. Although I'd only had about 2 laps to go, so I couldn't really pass anyone. But I mean, yeah, it wasn't terrible, but could have definitely been better.
Saw plenty of cars going for some off-track excursions, doing some mowing. It seems like if your runoff areas is grass, that makes it very difficult for these TCR cars.
Yeah, I mean, if you do pop at least... I mean, if you pop one wheel on the grass, you're in there for a long time because they just keep going into it. You can't really steer out of it like a rear-wheel drive car. It just takes you through like a roller coaster, unfortunately.
Tell us about the flamingos. Are we going to keep seeing the flamingos on your car?
Yeah, look, I don't know. I just did it for a mate because you reckon it would have been cool. So yeah, shout out to Matthew Kefford there. I think he would have liked it on the broadcast.
It puts a certain song in my head, if I'm honest with you, so I guess you can keep it going if you feel like. 3rd place in the final race, some good progression through the field then. Anyone you're going to thank?
Yeah, just the usual. I'd like to thank Venerable Sim Racing and also you for the broadcast and Club Day Masters for organising it.
Boom, there we go. Let's move on. Thanks, Dylan. Up to 2nd place in the final race, which was Aaron Oliver. Aaron, I want to say long time no see. That's not quite true. You had a bit of pace for Jackson Susan Harlow in the end there, but maybe not quite enough.
Yeah, no, I just fell short there in the end, boys. No, it was a long 15 laps, that's for sure. But yeah, we just kept on hunting down in that. And yeah, I think we got it down to 8 attempts in the end. So it is what it is. But yeah, it was a good race.
Progressive grid, you'd think you need to be careful in some of the opening races. Was that true?
Well, absolutely. It actually started in qualifying for me. Like, I had good pace in that, and then made a bit of a silly mistake back in qualifying. I don't know, that a couple of hours ago, but yeah, got a drive-through penalty, and then coming into the pits in race 1, I was actually leading at the time on that first lap, and yeah, I just chucked it off on the pit entry and got an unsafe pit entry, and I had to hold for 55 seconds. So I think we started race 2 and 22nd in the end, and yeah, drove through to 5th. And yeah, that last race obviously came back to 2nd. So yeah, it is a good system. I do enjoy progressive grid. Obviously, you get to race a lot more people when you get rewarded for being clean.
What's 2021 got in store for you?
At the moment, we are trying to get sponsorship together for 2 out of 86s to go race at the Winton round and for the rest of the series. But obviously, we need a bit of backing to get there. So if there's anyone watching out there that would like to sponsor a car in the 86 series, jump onto us on Facebook and that, Aaron Oliver Racing, and yeah, that'd be great if we can get some support to get there.
Well, we'll catch you around. I do hear rumblings. There's going to be further seasons of Club Day Masters. That sounds like the kind of place we might also see you again.
Yeah, for sure, boys. I can't wait, and I just want to thank my sponsors to end it out. Penrod Oil, Joe Marana from Harcourts Real Estate, Burgess Paint and Panel, MB Weldon Engineering Co., Revolution Race Gear, Repco Australia, and Living the Dream. Cheers, boys.
Thanks, Aaron. Cam, always interesting to see someone with Penrite colours that didn't change team and manufacturer between last year and this year.
Yes, certainly is, and good to see a Penrite car out there. Usually they do stand out quite well. They usually do look quite good on track, regardless of their white or black. But yeah, certainly very, very good to see those colours out there, and certainly good to see Aaron doing very, very good.
Yeah, and continue to move up some of the finishes from our 3 races. And Cam, I reckon you can have a word with Lachlan Manif, who locked out second place for the first 2 races. Maybe didn't go quite his way in race 3, though.
Yes, no, it was not too bad of a night overall for you, Lachlan. Probably could have been a little bit better in that 3rd race, but nevertheless not too bad of a way to do the night.
Yeah, it was a really good event. Firstly, a big thanks to Club Day Masters and the race control that jumped in, and VAG Parts, who jumped in board as a sponsor for the night. VAG Parts are a leading Volkswagen Audi parts supplier based in Sydney, and yeah, they jumped on board for the event, and it was great to be a part of it. And yeah, it was a lot of really good racecraft and learning, and a run up the front was good there, and got a bit of damage in the at the start of race 3 there, which kind of killed my straight line and overdrove it a little bit. But other than that, it was really good fun and a lot of good racecraft, and yeah, good to get into the weekend with all that experience.
It certainly is. Now, usually we're used to seeing these cars driven with ABS, so the braking is a little bit different to what we saw tonight, with the fact that you guys had it turned off. How big of a difference is it in terms of being able to stop these cars, and how much of a difference did it have? What did you have to make to the driving style to be able to not lock tires and run off the road and that sort of stuff?
It was quite different. You normally drive the PCR with a lot of brake pressure and let the ABS do the work, but you had to change up the car in your driving. The brake bias was over 10% towards the front, so you wouldn't be locking the rears. But yeah, other than that, it was just about being disciplined with the brake and trying to get as much pressure on as you can, obviously without locking. But it was certainly interesting, and yeah, I thought it was a really big help. It was good.
It looked like it was a lot of fun. Well, nevertheless, this will certainly have helped in prep for Phillip Island in the TCR series. Did you find it was a lot of valuable experience and also a lot of learning as well involved in tonight?
Yeah, it was great to run such a competitive event with the top sim guys and real guys from TCR. Obviously, yeah, it was certainly a huge help. I'm going into this weekend with 0 laps in the real car, so any laps in the sim is extremely valuable, and be able to go race wheel to wheel in such a competitive category or competitive night tonight was really good. So yeah, certainly learned a lot and take as much as that I can into the weekend.
Well, before we let you go, just any thanks and any shout outs you want to give?
Yeah, well, certainly thanks to again Club Day Masters and Race Control for putting it on, and VAG Parts for the event, and my sim team Purple Sector for all their support, and see you next time.
Well, there you have it, David. Lachlan, very, very positive heading into the weekend, and you are standing by with Jackson, Susan Harlow, I believe.
Absolutely, I am. 3 from 3. Yeah, you must be on top of the world with that one.
Yeah, it was pretty fun. I honestly didn't even know I was racing until quali was about to start. I jumped on just for do some laps, and then my mates Burst and all them told me to jump in. So yeah, it was a good fun event. Fun to race all the real drivers. Yeah, it was fun without the ABS as well. It kind of made it similar to a real car as well. So that brought a new thing into it, which was really cool. Good battles there in the last race. I was in a Discord with Jackson Barry and that, so I don't know if you guys know him, but yeah, he's not very easy to talk to when you're driving. So I think I had a few moments, but yeah, it was fun.
Broadcast didn't, but I certainly heard a bit too much of him.
I would say so. Oh, he was on the mic a fair bit, so yeah. But yeah, cheers guys for commentating as well. So yeah, it was a good fun event. You had a bit of sport there with Manif in race 2 or something, I think it was. You also didn't necessarily always make it the easiest for yourself. No, we were pretty comfortable, and yeah, Lockie was like, slow down, let's have a battle and that, and yeah, I just wanted to have fun. Like it's a fun series at the end of the day. It's for guys to get the chance to race the real life drivers and more experienced drivers. So Lockie's obviously a real life driver, experienced driver, so yeah, it was good to have a little bit of fun with him. Me and him have raced karts together
in the past. So yeah, we have a bit of a friendship there. So when he told me to slow down, I was like, yeah, we'll have a bit of a battle. And yeah, it was a good hard battle. It's hard to get past him, but in the end we yeah, found a way past and had a dip.
We're honestly expecting to see the slipstream down the pit straight to be a bit stronger in these cars here at Phillip Island. That would have given you more to worry about.
Yeah, the slipstream was fairly strong. It all starts with that last corner. So like a couple of those guys, when they were close behind me, I thought they'd get the opportunity to pass me, but thankfully when they were behind me, the aero washing that was really difficult as well. So they got a bit of understeer at some points, and yeah, I was able to get enough of a gap where I didn't have to like block or anything into one. And yeah, at the end, when I broke the draft, I was kind of pretty comfortable. I could maintain in that, but as soon as you get in that 1.2 bracket, it's like you can do the best corners of your life, but it's super hard to break it. It just, the amount of time you gain in a straight line is way more than what you gain through a corner.
And a cold track out there throughout all of the races. We saw a lot of people struggle in the first couple of laps. Is there a big change in the handling from, you know, a standing start on cold tyres to a couple laps in?
Yeah, 100%, especially without the AVS like it was tonight. I found in race 1 it was a big eye-opener. I've had experience in TCR last year and that when I drove it a lot, and yeah, you could always push it on the first couple of laps like you would at the end, but without the ABS, it's you go into a corner on the cold tyres. If you just don't modulate the brake enough, or you don't release it enough when you start to wind a bit of steer onto it, you just automatically lock, and yeah, your race can be over there. So the first couple of laps tonight, I took it very easy. There was really not much to like gain, but there was a lot to lose if you tried to push it. So I didn't push it too hard for those first couple of laps, and then when I got confident in the car, then I started to push, and yeah, had a bit of fun along the way trying to set some fast laps. And yeah, it was a good fun event. So hopefully might be able to get into the series for the start and have a fun over a season.
Well, it's a progressive grid format. When you're down, it keeps you down. When you're up, it keeps you up. You put on the master class today, going 3 from 3 in all of the races. So who are you going to thank?
Just a massive thanks to AAA Esports. Obviously, they're not really TCR, like they don't really like TCR, but yeah, big shout out to that team. Big shout out to United Sim Sports. Always got to get some coverage for them boys. So yeah, cheers for the support, and yeah, looking forward for the next broadcast race.
Cheers, maybe we'll see you there.
Yep, cheers boys.
Well, Cam, I think that's about it. I think that's almost everything from Phillip Island. 3 races, 1 winner.
Yeah, certainly a very, very dominant performance from a man himself, Jackson Susan Harlow, and what we're going to see possibly in the future of him, who knows, but certainly looking forward to what the next season of Club Day Masters holds, and who may or may not be on top.
Sounds like a great excuse to subscribe to SimSpeed. So we hope you can do that. That was Club Day Masters Worlds Collide Sim vs Pro, and Jackson Susan Harlow showing them how it's done. Some great runs from some TCR Australia drivers as well, though. Great to see the battles that John Martin had. Great to see the kind of performance Lachlan Manif could do before his debut in, I believe it's going to be the Volkswagen Golf TCR. So great to see some of Australia's sim racers go up against some of Australia's real racers, many of them involved in the TCR as well. I've been David Haynes. That has been Cam Dance. Jay Kennedy has been on our production, and Club Day Masters was brought to you by Aussie Karts and VAG Parts, with genuine OEM and performance parts for Volkswagen and Audi products. Club Day Masters should return. We look forward to seeing you then.
This is fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction, he's got everything outside of both of them! Maloney!
Oh, he's taken Anderson. Anderson's up to
Oh my god!
these guys are going to want to make their way through the field very quickly. Oh, there we go. Oh, no. That's massive. This is it. This is over. I can't believe this. Oh, my God.